Welcome to the Only Male Cruise Show, the We Own Your Head podcast. Discussing topics that make you say, how and where can we improve as a society? From a Black American's perspective. Copyright disclaimer regarding fair use is in full effect. The views and opinions expressed in this show, you guessed it, they're all mine. Catch this live, be ready to speak. This is a call-in show. Be sure to hit the like button, share, subscribe, replay gang, leave a comment. You know I want to hear from you. Let's go to work. All right. Welcome to the Only Male Cruise Show, the We Own Your Head podcast. I am the Only Male Cruise. Hey, we are covering two short stories today because they are extremely important. And I just want to tell everybody, be sure to hit the like button, share, subscribe if you haven't already. We're talking about the police officer who really just lost control and went ham. Okay? Went ham on a teenager. This stuff is so out of control, it doesn't make any sense. And of course, the mayor, his position on this is really ridiculous. So what I want to do, this is the young lady and of course the police officer. Now the police officer has been suspended without pay. And as the investigation goes on, I'm so sick and tired of hearing that phrase. But this is the young lady who got into the fisticuffs with this police officer. So let's see. This cop was suspended without pay after he was caught on video pummeling a 14-year-old girl while trying to break up an after-school brawl on Staten Island. Now, it happened so quick. The young lady's name is Kiona Robinson, and she says it happened so quick she couldn't even think straight. She thought they were just going to break up a fight and take them to the precinct. Now, come to find out, the individuals who were fighting was Kiona's sister, who was 12 years old. So Kiona's sister and some other student were having an altercation, and the police were called. So Kiona she actually approached the officers and asked, hey, what's going on? And according to Kiona, the cop hit her, pushed her, and so she, of course, hit him back. And then all hell broke loose from there. So let me run this video real quick. We're going to take a quick look at this because it really is out of control here. I mean, this is like utterly ridiculous. He's supposed to be a professional, also supposed to be an adult. Why are you in a position of authority, Mr. Police Officer, and you don't know how to handle the people in which you are charged to protect? I mean, he might as well let the kids go ahead and get their little fight on. Whew. Out of control. I mean, that's some very unprofessional behavior. Let me check out the chat real quick. Shout out to Baby Shay. Baby Shay, I know you're working overtime, double time. Y'all appreciate you for pulling up, Baby Shay. Y'all do like Baby Shay say, do like she say. Be sure to hit the like button, share, subscribe. So again, very unprofessional behavior on behalf of this police officer. He punches her about 9 times as Kiona backs away. And of course, as we just saw in the video, there are other teens that are actually trying to pull her apart and away from the police officer. It's sad, but here's the kicker thing that makes you think that there's some salt in the game, okay? And that is that after this melee went down, um, Kiona's mother got a phone call and told her, hey, you know, we need you to come to the doctor because your child is at the doctor. And the mom thought, she goes, well, you know, okay. Because she says that the mom says that Kiona has asthma, and at any time that asthma can be triggered. So the mom says, I thought that the reason why Kiona had gone to the hospital was for that. She said, I didn't know that it was because they just wanted to cover themselves and make sure that they didn't see any injuries from the police officer. So in Kiona's mother's mind, she's under the impression that it was just, you know, they were trying to do some CYA. They were just trying to cover their ass. Shout out to the Tiara Latrice show. Sure do appreciate you pulling up, Tiara. Thank you, girl. So that's what the mom thought. And of course, Kiona had a knot on her head. And then after this beating, she feels like, you know, she has a migraine, you know, and at 15, 16 years old, I'm sure that she probably doesn't really even know how to describe what she's, you know, the pain that she's really feeling. Migraine is probably the best word she could come up with. Now, according to Mayor Adams, which I'm so tired of him, this man right here, he just needs to stop. He needs to be recalled. According to him, he's he's grateful that that the officer was suspended so quickly. He says, Mayor Adams says, I was not pleased with what I saw in the video. But nevertheless, he went on ahead and praised the New York Police Department and insisted that the caught on video incident should not give New Yorkers the impression that they can't trust the police. Now, my question is, what other impression should a mature adult have when you see a grown man who is a police officer fighting a teenager, a student, other than thinking that it's not safe? I'm sorry, but I have to put a racial connotation up and through there. Now, I don't know how y'all think. You can let me know in the comments. I'm down to hear your point of view, but I can't see that happening with a child of another ethnicity, okay? Um, you could be the staunchest critic of a police officer, but you know three numbers in this city. 911. This is what the mayor's saying. You're happy when they pull up. You're happy to see them late at night. You're happy if your child is out somewhere knowing that they are on the street. Well, what we just saw in this video wouldn't make me happy to know that they're out there on the street at night if my child happens to be out there. Now, this police officer, Scalzo, I believe is how you pronounce his name, has been assigned to Staten Island's 12th the 121st precinct since 2013. He was appointed as a police officer in 2008. Now that's interesting because I'm not quite sure if appointed means he completed the academy and, you know, it progressed from there, or if he just, you know, so I don't know. I might need to try to look into that one. Says here that the Police Benevolent Association president, Pat Lynch, was outraged that the cop was suspended before internal IA could launch an investigation. The police officers involved are entitled to due process, not summary judgment based on a few seconds of video, according to this Benevolent Association president, Pat Lynch. Kiona says, I'm just disappointed that the precinct, she's disappointed in the precinct and in that police officer. You know, here's the thing. When you talk about the school to prison pipeline, there are so many items that contribute to that. And one of the things that contributes to the school to prison pipeline is the fact that there are more police officers in the school, and these police officers do not know how to interact with these children. They're not trained to do that. And then you look at the budget that New York has for their police department. It's $1 billion some odd. Now, if you were to So when you hear that phrase, defund the police, it doesn't mean just abolish the police. It means quit putting so much money in the police budget and put some of that money into resources that would eliminate or prevent the police even being called. For example, they could have some social workers inside the school. Because the way this thing turned out, I mean, why call the police? I mean, they should have called the police on the police. But with the social worker in that school, they basically could have had that issue resolved to the point where it wouldn't have even been a fight. And these are 12-year-olds. These are kids. These are adolescents that were fighting. Why is that the solution to resolve that kind of thing? There were no weapons involved. So why rely? Your first line of defense is to call the police. And then he shows up like a big kid. This is outrageous behavior. Tiara says Mayor Adams needs to worry about the housing project that is getting people sick from the water supply. You know what, Tiara? Not only that, but when I was looking into this story, good old Mayor Adams has his own apartment building or complex or, private owned, which has been cited for extreme rat infestation. Okay? So that's the other thing he needs to worry about. But I'm just going to be honest. If we're going to base our opinions on description, I'm sorry, but this guy looks a little greasy. Okay? He looks greasy to me. And it's totally inappropriate that a police officer would conduct himself the way he did when his job was to prevent this. I mean, the kids were already doing this. And what I don't know is if the child who was being fought, if that person was white or of some ethnicity, which it doesn't matter. That's really not the point. The main point is that this is not how this thing should have resulted. Period. Point blank. What you say? Tiara said, yes, absolutely. There's no reason for that. No reason for this behavior. And I think the mayor has other more pressing items to concern himself with. But we'll see what happens. I will say this, and I talked about this briefly on another show, where, New York does have qualified immunity. And if the parents of Kiona Robinson decide to take this police officer to court and win, this gentleman's name, well, I'm not sure about that database. Let me double check before I speak on that. But what I do know for certain is if they go to court and they win, whatever the judgment amount is, he will be responsible for at least $25,000, or I think it's 5 or 10% of whatever the award is. So that's the good thing about qualified immunity. It holds the police officers accountable to a certain extent. So that I'm glad that piece is there in the state of New York. And so, we have to keep an eye on this. But, the mayor needs to fix this thing. They need to defund the police and just, make some modifications to the police department's budget and start putting some of those funds where they're needed. Because I think a good and qualified social worker, counselor, etc., inside these public schools would prevent a lot of the student fighting. Okay? So that's that on that. And up next, y'all. Okay, I don't know how many of y'all are aware of this, but Mayor Lightfoot, and I don't even have a picture of her, thank God, but Mayor Lightfoot knows she's on one. Let's check out this video. She is really trying to pull a fast one on one small neighborhood, kind of like a enclave in the city of Chicago. Let's check this video out, y'all.
I'm here because I am a child of Woodlawn. I was born and raised in Woodlawn. And I'm speaking on behalf of the people that are here and the ones that's not here, the ones that's at work and couldn't make it here. We are very disappointed in this decision that Mayor Lightfoot has made to place these migrants in our community without our permission.
Shame.
Mayor Lightfoot would never pull this type of thing in anyone's neighborhood. She would not drop off a busload of Haitians in Little Village. She would not drop off a busload of black people in Chinatown.
Never.
She would not drop off a busload of black people up north.
Never.
So it's time for Mayor Lightfoot to understand we will no longer be disrespected by you, ma'am. Please withdraw your decision to put the migrants in our community. There's plenty of room in Little Village for their people. Please speak to Little Village and take them over there. We're not hating on anyone, but we're loving on Woodlawn.
That's right.
As well, we already are struggling with the issue of fentanyl in our communities. We don't need anything else to add to the struggles that we already have. If there is a lack of resources in our community, we don't need anyone else to come in and suck those up.
That's right.
We're tired, Miss Lightfoot. We're tired, and we will not be voting for you. Thank you.
Really? Really?
Yeah, we will not be voting for you, Mayor Lightfoot. You know, and so here's the issue with this is Black Americans are put in a quandary when we try to delineate from other individuals, other ethnicities, because there is no flat blackness. Just because the skin tones, we may appear black, doesn't mean we're all Black Americans. The issue with this objective that the mayor has instituted without even reaching out to anyone, the problem is that to speak up against it, now all of a sudden, it makes it appear as though the residents of Woodlawn, that small group you saw there, that handful of residents, it makes it appear as though they're being racist or they're being discriminatory. And that's not the case. Little Mexico or Little Italy, I can't remember the name of that spot she just mentioned. The thing is that is a popular Hispanic location. A smaller little suburb. A suburb is not the spot. It's like Chinatown or whatever. It's like that. Little Mexico, they call it. So if you're going to bring some Latino style immigrants into the country for the first time in their lives, it would seem that you would want them to be in an environment of people that are similar to who they are. I mean, let's just be honest. And this is why I believe the lady was saying you wouldn't take a bunch of Black people and throw them into Chinatown. I mean, on the top, that doesn't even make sense. So how are you even trying to acclimate these migrants if that's what you're trying to do? But I look at it like you're just trying to take advantage of the Black American neighborhood because it doesn't matter what they say. Their pushback holds no weight. The other problem that I have with this entire situation is that, here are some images of the homeless situation in Chicago. Okay. And, there are a few times where I have driven by some of these homeless encampments and, I was like, oh, Mel, you should take a picture or take some video just so you can, have it in your, in your library. But when I got ready to do it, I just felt like, man, that's disrespectful because, if these people had a choice, Don't nobody want to have their picture. Nobody wants to live like this. Nobody's volunteering to live like this. Furthermore, to say that everyone who finds themselves in a homeless predicament, it's due to mental health or mental some type of mental illness, that's inaccurate. That's inaccurate. Now, here's the thing. The school that Mayor Lightfoot had proposed, which of course this action has been delayed, but this school has been vacant since, oh man, I want to say like 2017. Okay? These pictures are not recent. Okay? They're like 2019, 2021. This has been going on. So my thing is, why do you wait until now to do something about the homeless population in the city of Chicago? It only becomes important to you once these migrants come in? I mean, come on, y'all. That's not right. I mean, and this is what the people in Woodlawn are saying. First of all, the resources are already cut short. And then you want to bring some more people in where the resources are limited. And then we can't even expect that they're even going to acclimate well, because they would acclimate better in a more like-minded environment. But let's talk about the school. This school, let me put this picture up here real quick. This school is large, and I didn't get the square footage and whatnot. But this school was owned by the University of Chicago, okay? And it used to be an elementary school. Well, what the University of Chicago did was bought and built another location, okay? And so initially, the city was trying to get the University of Chicago to buy the school, but they were like, no, that's not going to work. And so it says, well, I'm reading this article from 2017. It says in the fall, it'll be up to Chicago Public Schools and the community to figure out what to do with this Wadsworth building and its substantial grounds in the middle of Woodlawn. Now, CPS had tried to sell the building to the university, but the university never took the deal, opting to build a new school on a nearby city land. So now the school was built 100 years ago, and its purpose was to serve elementary school or elementary students. And so the main reason was in getting out of there was that it lacked classroom spaces and resources necessary for high school students. Now, after over a year of exploring different ways of meeting the needs of the current and prospective students, it was determined that a new facility would be best and most economically feasible. And that's why Chicago, or the University of Chicago, said, we're just not going to mess with it. And they built their own. So the school had needed significant work for some time. In 2012, shortly before Wadsworth students were moved out, Chicago Public Schools estimated that the school needed $3.9 million in upgrades to the main building and another $1.7 million in work to two additional units or two additions on the building. Now that's in 2012. To my understanding, that building has been sitting vacant since then, okay? Since 2017. The issue is that these homeless people have been here since well after that. And there was never a bright idea to get these homeless people off the street. I mean, because these homeless people were on the street even during COVID. And it never dawned on y'all. I'm sorry. I'm not buying that. And if it needed $3.9 million in upgrades back in 2012, and you didn't do anything then, how much more expensive are the upgrades going to be? And would they be if you were to move those migrants in there? So that's more money that you're willing to expend on behalf of some migrants, but yet you still have regular Chicago natives living like this. Now, y'all tell me if it's right. tell me something in the comments. You mean to tell me that you didn't think of none of this? Okay. It says here that though many of the needed repairs were listed as minor at the time, major work was needed on the roof, plumbing, and electrical systems. Okay, that's all of that is in 2012. No. And the city goes on to say, we're going to leave it vacant. We're going to see what happens. See if anybody steps up. We'd love to see some, some artistic or some commercial involvement. We want to get the community involved, but it's been sitting vacant. Also, there are still COVID funds available that they plan to use in order to take care of these migrants that are coming in. Now, here's what I don't understand. How do you have COVID funds available and a vacant building, but you still kicking it like this? It's still going down like this? This how y'all doing? So you're not even trying to, anyway. So the issue is this. It's not about racism. It's not about being discriminatory. There is an issue with immigration in this country, and all over the country you can see where there seems to be some level of preferential treatment for these migrants that are coming in. The borders are open, and there is a lax attitude about it, except for the fact that our president, well, some of the people call him Jim Crow Joe, made sure to damn near repeat what Donald Trump said at the early part of his administration. If you're from this country, don't come here. The borders are closed to you. And of course, those countries he's referring to contain mostly the people, the residents of those countries that Joe Crow mentioned are not of the Caucasian persuasion. Okay? So there goes all that bias there. The point of the matter is this. Lori Lightfoot needs to get the hell out of office. I'm glad the lady said we're not going to vote for you again. There's an alderman who stated that he wasn't made aware that Lori Lightfoot just made this decision and moved forward with it, and he didn't know anything about it, so he wasn't able to communicate that. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't believe that. I think that particular alderman is trying to save his ass, if you really want to know the truth of it. If this would have went down and the people of Woodlawn would have embraced this addition to their neighborhood, he would have touted himself like, yeah, because that's what America's all about. But since these people have stood up for themselves, which they have every right to do, he's playing as though, or at least he stated that he didn't know anything about it, and he would have liked to have known. So anyway, it's a hot mess. It's definitely worth keeping an eye on. Again, the bigger issue is this. I get it. You're trying to be humanitarian, okay? You're trying to look out for these migrants. Nobody deserves to be sleeping on the streets. There's a whole lot of reasons. Our borders do need to be protected. The immigration situation needs to be handled. Will it be handled? I doubt it. But these residents need to continue to hold their position. They need to continue to hold their position. And if there's somewhere else to go to make the acclimation to this country a lot smoother, then that's where they need to head. The bottom line is this. Black Americans all over the world are known by every negative stereotype you can think of. And immigrants come to this country in full knowledge of these stereotypes, and they interact with us as though we are those stereotypes. So what would make Mayor Lightfoot think it was logical to bring a substantial number of people into a small neighborhood and just drop them in there without even considering how their acclimation is going to happen? how that's going to impact the people that live there and then impact those immigrants or migrants or whatever we're calling them. It's unfair. And she had to have known, she had to have processed the thought that it's going to be uncomfortable. And so let's not put anyone else at a level of discomfort except for the Black Americans in this Woodlawn neighborhood. That's wrong. You're wrong for that, Lightfoot. Mayor Adams, you're wrong for that as well up there in New York, still praising this police officer. But if Chicago has COVID funds still available and these people are out on the street, that's baloney. And so since you opened this Pandora's box, Mayor Lightfoot, I'm going to need you to go ahead and move forward and take this building and put these people in it. That's what I'm going to need you to do. Because somehow I have a feeling that maybe the people of Woodlawn would still have a problem with it. But I also have a feeling that they wouldn't mind as much if these are the same United States citizens that have been here, that they would get this availability before some migrants who are pulling up with stereotypes in mind before they did. Now, y'all, that's it. That's the podcast. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, Replay Gang, leave a comment. You know I want to hear from you. And until next time, y'all, we will see ya when we see ya. Welcome to the Only Male Cruise Show, the We Own Your Head podcast. Discussing topics that make you say, how and where can we improve as a society? From a Black American's perspective. Copyright disclaimer regarding fair use is in full effect. The views and opinions expressed in this show, you guessed it, they're all mine. Catch this live, be ready to speak. This is a call-in show. Be sure to hit the like button, share, subscribe, Replay Gang, leave a comment. You know I want to hear from you. Let's go to work.